Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about how to divide polynomials. First, we're going to learn long division and then synthetic division. So before I do long division, I just want to quickly give a quick review on how we divided numbers. For example, if it is 57 divided by 2, how did we divide this when it was numbers? So you would look how many times will 2 go in 5. You will say that 2 times 2 is 4. But 5 minus 4, the remainder is 1. And you would bring down the 7. 2 goes into 17. And max of 2 times 8 is 16 times. And you get a remainder of 1. You call this as your remainder. So the process here is to see how many times it will go in the first number first. And then you subtract. Then you bring down a term. Then you subtract again. If there was another number here, you would bring it down and then you get your remainder. So that's kind of how we do long division on numbers. So when you do long division on polynomials, it's pretty much the same, but with a slight difference. So I'm going to show you that now. Now let me explain the steps. The steps are given here. I wrote the steps here beforehand. The first step is to set up the divisor and the dividend correctly. This is the dividend, this is the divisor. What I mean by set it up correctly is the dividend and divisor should have a term with every degree in it. For example, here the highest degree is 3. So starting from 3, you should have a third degree term, a second degree term, a first degree term, and a 0 degree term. So if the highest degree is 3, you should have, starting from 3, every other terms there, every other degree terms there. And here also the highest degree is 1. So from 1, the next one below it is the 0 degree term. So you have it there. So this is already set up correctly. First step is done for you. The second step is to divide. I have a capital F first divided by small f first. What I mean is divide the first term of the dividend. Okay, dividend by the first term of the divisor. Or the first term over the first term, in the sense that x cube over x, this is the first term divided by the first term, we get x squared. Okay, or in other words, we're trying to see what can I multiply with x to get x cubed. What can I multiply with x to get x cubed? You get it by doing the first term of the dividend divided by the first term of the divisor, and you get as x squared. So you put that up there, x squared. Now, after you do that, we did both of these. After you do that, you distribute. Take this x squared, distribute it to the divisor, multiply it back in here. So x squared and x, you get x cubed. X squared times 3, you get positive 3x squared. Alright. So the next step after you distribute is to subtract them. Okay, just like how we did with numbers. We subtract them. Now what I mean by subtract here is change the sign. Subtract just means change the sign and then do whatever is necessary. Okay, so positive x cube will become negative x cube. As we change the sign, I'm going to do it with a different color so that you know that that was not the actual sign. When I change it, it becomes negative, and positive 3x squared will become negative 3x squared. That's how we change the sign. And then we know that x and x, that's positive x cubed and negative x cubed, will cancel. 5 minus 3, I'm not going to look at the plus because I changed it to a negative now. 5 minus 3x squared is 2x squared. After you do that, just like how you would do with division with numbers, you bring down the next term, or the next number, in this case the next term, 7x. Okay, so we are all the way, we bring down a term, and then what it says is to repeat the steps from 2 to 5 again. So it's just like a loop. You go back and do the steps again. First term, now the first term here, step number 2, the first term is 2x squared. So it's 2x squared over first term of divisor is x. So when x and x cancels, you get your answer as 2x, positive 2x. So you put plus 2x here. Now we have to distribute. So 2x squared times x is 2x squared. 2 times positive 3 is positive 6, and you have an x. Now after we distribute, we subtract. That means we change the sign. So this becomes a negative and this becomes a negative. Then positive 2 and negative 2 will cancel. 7 minus 6 is just 1x. We don't usually put the 1, we put the x there. Now what we have to do is bring down the next number. Bring down a term, which is so positive 3. Now repeat the process again from the step 2 to 5 again. So here the first is x, and the first over here is also x, so you get 1. Positive 1, so you put plus 1 here. Distribute. 1 times x is x. 1 times 3 is 3. After you distribute, you subtract. So positive x becomes negative. Positive 3 becomes negative. And what you get is positive and negative will cancel. These will they're both going to cancel, and you get 0. And you don't have any more terms to bring down. So the remainder is 0 here. So this is long division. This method is called long division. And always remember, when you divide a number by another number, let's say for example here 2 divided by 8, you know 2 goes into 8 4 times, and you get your remainder as 0. When your remainder is 0, you can say something about 2 and 4. You can say that 2 and 4 are factors of 8. 2 and 4 are factors of 8. Only if the remainder is 0. If you get a number for a remainder, then 2 and 4 will not be factors of this number if you had anything other than 0 here. Just like that, you can say that x plus 3 and x squared plus 2x plus 1 are factors of x cubed plus 5x squared plus 7x plus 3 because the remainder is 0. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, since I explained long division already, I'm going to quickly explain synthetic division here. The second way to do it, synthetic division. Now synthetic division has the first step the same like long division. The first step is to make sure to set it up correctly. So the same question that we did before, if we were to do that, x cubed plus 5x squared plus 7x plus 3 divided by x plus 3. The setup is important. Set it up correctly means if you have a third degree term, you should have a second degree, a first degree, and a 0. The highest degree is 1, then you should have a 0 degree term. So we set it up correctly. And always remember that synthetic division only works for the divisors of this form. That means the coefficient of x has to be 1. Here the coefficient of x here is 1, so we can use synthetic division here. If it's not 1, there is a way to make it 1 by dividing, and then you do the rest of the steps. But right now I'm going to focus on an easy question here. So here the coefficient is already 1, so let's see how synthetic division is done. So in the setup process, we make sure that the degrees are all correct and every degree is there. And then in this case, we only use the coefficients. The coefficient of the x cubed term here is 1, remember? And then the 5, the 7, and the 3. So we write it like this. 1, leave some space. 5, leave some space. Positive 7, and 3. Put a box like that. And here, if you have a positive 3, you got to write a negative 3 here. Okay? And now we're going to do some steps of adding and multiplying. This is a direction. If I go from top to down, you have to add. So if I go sideways, you got to multiply. These are the two things you got to remember. I'll show you what it is first. Put a 0 here. This is how synthetic division is done. The setup has, when I say setup, this is how much you should be doing. Okay? make sure that make sure that this is a coefficient 1. Then make sure that every degree term is there. Then put it with the square like that, and whatever number comes here, do the opposite of that and write, if it's a positive 3, you will put a negative 3 and leave a 0 there. This is what you mean by the first step called setup. Okay, this is all included in the first step. Now, the next part is, when you go, I'm going to try to add and multiply here. When I go in this direction, it's adding, and when I go sideways, it's multiplying. So 1 plus 0, when I'm going in a straight downward vertical direction, downward. So 1 plus 0 is 1. It's adding when you go downward. Now sideways, I multiply. Sideways, you multiply. 1 times negative 3, I get negative 3. Vertically, you add. 5 minus 3. I'm not multiplying vertically, I'm adding or subtracting vertically. 5 minus 3 is 2. Sideways, 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Downwards, add. 7 minus 6, I get 1. Sideways, multiply. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. It's vertical, you add. 3 minus 3, you get 0. So if you get it like this, you write out the last number that you get as your remainder. So this is going to be a remainder. And just like, whenever we arrange the divisor and the dividend, we start with the last term is the number, the constant term, the first degree, the second degree, the third degree. We go in order of increasing degrees from the number to that side, just like that. This is going to be a constant, the constant or the number part. This is going to be a first degree, and then that's going to be a second degree. If I had another number, that would be my third degree. So my quotient here, or my answer here, will be 1 times x squared is 1x squared. Positive 2 times x is positive 2x. Positive 1, there's nothing here, it's just your number part, like that. That's my quotient, and that's my remainder. So this is my answer to this question by using synthetic division. Let's do a quick example. So here's a question. I'm going to do it by long division and by synthetic division. So let's set this up correctly. I have a 4th degree term, n4, 5th degree term, n3, 4, 3, the second degree term is missing. So I'm going to write 0 n square for the second degree term. When I don't have a term, I have to put it. I have to supply that term. Next, first degree term, and then the 3. So here only the second degree term was missing, and we gave it a second degree term. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All degrees are there, so it's set up correctly. And we call it, then we write the divisor, n plus 3. All degrees are there, so we just write it like that. So, and first step, setup is correct. n4 divided by n, we get n cube. Distributed, we get n4 plus 3n cube. Subtracted by changing the sign. Positive becomes negative, positive becomes negative. They cancel. 5 minus 3 is 2n cube. Bring down the next term, 0n square. Now divide the first term by the first term. 2n cube divided by n is 2n square. Now you distribute it. So when you distribute it, you get 2n square, and n is 2n cube. 2 times 3, 6n square. Subtract, change the sign. They cancel. 0 minus 6 is negative 6n square. Bring down the next term, negative 6n. Now, negative 6n square divided by n, you get negative 6n. Distribute it, you get negative 6n square minus 6 times 3 is 18n. Change. So I just went ahead and divided it all the steps are here, and I also did the synthetic division on the side for you to compare. So do your work and check and see if you get the same remainders and the same answers. and you can use whichever method you want when you divide.